Hello, welcome to ApplicantStack's Ask Me Anything Hour. My name is Ellen Benzine. I will be your hostess today. There are still people signing in. We're just going to give them another minute before we start, so please hang tight. All right, I think we should go ahead and get started. As I just mentioned, my name is Ellen Benzine, and I am an account manager with SwipeClock. Welcome to everybody who is on this Ask Me Anything Hour with ApplicantStack. With me are two other account managers, Carol Kennedy and Brandon Peterson, and we all support ApplicantStack products, both recruit and onboarding. So again, welcome to all. We're going to follow the format of past Ask Me Anything Hour, and what I'm going to do is actually discuss and demo an ApplicantStack function, and then we're going to open it up to questions. Those questions can be on anything you want, ApplicantStack-wise, recruit, and or onboarding. And if your questions could be generic enough to help other people when we answer them, that would be great. If you've got specific questions unique to your particular account and configuration, we can either take those offline or feel free to create a technical support ticket. All right, let's talk about configuring and modifying job fields, candidate fields, and application fields. And let me go ahead and bring up my demo account. So you should be able to see the homepage of my ApplicantStack demo account, the Recruit homepage. And again, what I want to talk about is how to configure ApplicantStack to suit your particular recruiting processes and needs. And we're going to talk about, once again, configuring fields. So the first type of field I want to discuss are job fields. So I'm on my ApplicantStack homepage. I'm just going to move over to the Jobs tab up top and click. And this will bring up my jobs table. So there's a lot of information here. All of the information is about the jobs themselves. So you'll see the job ID, the job title, how many available positions or opportunities you have for that particular job, the geographic location, the department, and a variety of other information about the job itself. So you can actually configure, or an account administrator can actually configure up to 30 job fields. Information that you might want to capture about a job could include, obviously, what you see on my screen now. It could include whether or not the job is an hourly paid job or a salaried opportunity. Maybe you want to track whether or not it's a job that you're filling because it's a replacement position. Maybe somebody has left your organization and now you're relaunching or reposting that job. Maybe you also want to track maybe an internal charge code. So there are a variety of information or a variety of reasons as to why you might want to configure additional job fields. So what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and add a job field. And again, this is a function that only ApplicantStack administrators can do. So I'm going to click on my picture in the upper right-hand corner. I'm going to choose the Setup option from the drop-down, and then move over to the blue menu on the left. I'm going to choose Configure because that's what we're doing. We're configuring and modifying the account. And then what we're talking about are job fields. So if I click on job fields, you'll see the fields that are currently configured in my account, and let's go ahead and add another field. And I would do that by clicking on the Create Field option in the gray menu on the right. And when I do so, I need to complete some information on this particular job field that I'm adding. So let's go ahead, and the name of this field is going to be, is it a part-time or full-time opportunity? Let's go ahead and make it a drop-down, so any recruiter or admin who are creating jobs would simply choose which type of opportunity it is. Our options would be part-time or full-time. We're going to make this required. This is job information, by the way. We're going to make this field a required field. This isn't considered sensitive information, so there's no need to make that private. I do want to show this on my job board, and that will allow my candidates to see whether or not the opportunity of interest is part-time or full-time. And I do want to show it on my jobs table as well. So I'm simply following the prompts here when creating a new field. And once I save the information, you'll see that I do have a new field here entitled part-time or full-time. Let's go back to the Jobs tab by clicking on Jobs up top. And you now see that I have a field here entitled part-time or full-time. Now, these jobs had already been created in the past, so this field wasn't populated, but you can certainly go back to those jobs and edit the jobs and add the information. I also made that field public, so candidates would be able to see it on your organization's job board. So if I click on Open Job Board from the gray menu on the right, you'll now see I have this part-time or full-time field here. Again, the jobs that have already been created, I would need to go back and edit those jobs, click on the part-time or full-time drop-down to determine, or to, I guess, populate is the better term, the information on the job board. But what you see on the job board are those job fields that have been designated as public fields, those fields that you want to display on your job board so your candidates can see that information. So my public job fields obviously include title, geographic location, department, salary range, and this new field we just created. So it's quite easy to configure fields. That was configuring or actually adding a job field. Very similar to adding job fields, let's go ahead and talk about configuring and adding candidate fields. So I'm going to move from the Jobs tab over to the Candidates tab. And my candidate table obviously displays. You'll see a variety of information here about candidates. We call them candidate fields, and you can configure up to 20 candidate fields. So name, resume, phone for texting, the job for which the candidate applied, those are all candidate fields, as are desired salary, availability, referred by. So again, information that you want to collect from your candidates, or you as an ApplicantStack user want to input on your candidates, can all be configured by adding candidate fields. One of the things that I like to point out in a candidate field is this referred by field. If you've got a referral program, that's nice to capture, because then you can use ApplicantStack to track that information. If you provide some sort of bonus to a current employee who has referred an individual that you hired. So moving back up to my picture in the upper right-hand corner and choosing Setup, just like we did with modifying and adding a job field. Moving over to the blue menu on the left and clicking Configure, you'll notice one of the options here is Candidate Fields. These are the fields that you just saw for each candidate. And again, you can add up to 20 candidate fields. So maybe you want to track availability, when your candidates are available to begin work. Maybe you want to track whether or not a candidate is fluent in multiple languages. Again, it's information that your candidate can provide during the application process, or you can input as you gather the information. While we're here in configuration, let's talk about application fields. So I kind of call application fields the catch-alls. It's very apparent field information about jobs. It's very apparent field information about candidates. Um, application fields can include things like what you see on the screen now. Source, so where your candidates saw your job listing. And just to take a look at the edit options, you can obviously create as many source options as you want, but this would be important if you have paid to post your job somewhere. You want to track that information as to where a candidate saw your job. Again, especially if you're paying, because you want to make sure that you're getting your return on investment. Other application fields can include a high-level rating on your candidates, disposition options. Again, that referral information can also be an application field. So we added a new job field moments ago. Let's edit an application field. So I'm going to edit disposition. I'm going to edit the options here because I do want to add another disposition option. Here are the options that I have currently configured. And if I move to the gray menu on the right, the first option in the upper right hand is add options. So I'm going to add another option, and I'm going to input desired salary too high. And when I save that, it's now part of my options that I can choose from when a candidate falls out of the recruit process. So frequently you're going to want to track why candidates aren't appealing and why you might move them to, say, the do not pursue stage. You might also want to specify why, again, they've fallen out of your recruit process. But I like a tidy account, and you'll see desired salary is way down here, and the rest of these options are in alphabetic order. I'm going to come up over here to the gray menu on the right again. I'm going to choose alphabetize options, choose OK, and you'll now see all my options are in alphabetic order. Again, I just like a tidy account. So you can configure up to 40 application fields if you want. And again, it's the drawing of information from your candidates or information that you as ApplicantStack users want to input. Maybe it's a preferred location request if you've got multiple sites. Again, it's a variety of information that you can configure in order to collect. So I've been in ApplicantStack Recruit. And for those of you who have onboarding, I'm going to go ahead and transition to onboarding just a minute, or for just a minute, I guess I should say. I'm going to move from recruiting to onboarding, because you can do something very similar with onboarding. Onboarding is the electronic collection or the electronic assignment of new hire paperwork for your hires to complete. So just like you can configure job fields and candidate fields and application fields in ApplicantStack Recruit, you can configure hire fields in ApplicantStack Onboarding. So if I move from my Home tab to my Hires tab, this is information that you'll see on my hires that, of course, includes name. It includes onboarding assignments. These individuals have cell phones, so I can text from onboarding to my new hires. What building location the new hire office will be in, and other information regarding the hires. Again, you can configure hire information, hire fields in ApplicantStack Onboarding. So to do so, click on your picture in the upper right-hand corner. Again, set up from the menu or the drop-down, and moving over to the blue menu on the left, if I click Configure, you'll see one of my options is now Hire Fields because, again, I'm in ApplicantStack Onboarding. So very similarly, you have the ability to create hire fields to track a variety of information that might be of importance to you. And just moving back to my home page, I'm going to flip back to Recruit. And what's important to note here is that ApplicantStack, regardless of whether or not it's recruiter onboarding, has the ability to be configured. An account administrator has the ability to modify what we've talked about today, being field information. But please know that ApplicantStack, again, is highly configurable. You can mirror your recruiting processes in order to collect the information that you want in order to hire most efficiently. So that is the end of the featured function for this Ask Me Anything hour. And what I'd like to do now is see if there are any questions that have been input. And feel free to input your questions via the question box. We will go ahead and field those questions. And while questions are coming in, I just wanted to make mention of a couple of things that are coming up in the future. You've all probably registered for this webinar via the link here under the announcement section on the homepage. But do know that we have an ApplicantStack onboard webinar, and that webinar is scheduled for December 6th. If you click on the link, you have the ability to register for that. Okay. Carol and Brandon, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. We have one question. Question number is from Brianna. How to use the text messaging?
How to use text messaging, you say?
Correct.
Okay. So we have both basic texting, an offering for basic texting, and an offering for premium texting. So if I move over to the Candidates tab, if you have texting enabled in your account, you will automatically have another title here, another column. It's entitled P, and that stands for phone. And any candidate that has input their cell phone number, you'll see a cell phone icon. So you have the ability to text those individuals individually, or you can mass text candidates as well. So let's say I want to interview both Dan and Lulu Bell. I could check their candidate records. I could come over to the gray menu on the right. I could text a candidate. About halfway down is where I am. So if I click on text candidate, then you have the ability to select a text template, which would have to be in your library. It would have to be previously created in order for you to bring it in. And you can input your text message as well. So once this were to be sent off, both Lulu Bell and Dan Hicks would get a text message from you, and that text conversation has then begun. So you probably know that individuals respond to text messages far faster. And I want to say, and Brandon, I think you know the percentage. What is it, like 90% faster than they would to an email?
Well, the statistic in that term, what I have heard is that the open rates for text is about 90%, and emails is between 40 to 60%.
Okay, yep, that's what I was looking for. Thank you. So texting gives you the opportunity to obviously get in touch with your candidates, and based on what Brandon just said, those candidates will open and respond to text messages far faster than emails. I'm going to move up to the library for a minute, because any sort of message templates, whether they be email or text, do need to reside in the library. And you'll notice one of the options in the blue menu on the left is messages. So you can create messages that are either email or text messages, and pull those templates in to text your candidates and to text your hires as well. Let's not forget about contacting hires and onboarding. You do pay $35 a month for basic texting per account, for unlimited texting, which is a bargain for the function. And then just recently we announced premium texting. So premium texting has all the functionality that basic texting has, and has two additional features, one of which is the ability to trigger a text on a stage change. So when you move your candidates through the stages of your recruit flow, in the past, you've been able to trigger emails. And those emails, and I can probably show you this a little bit better. Let me go back into Setup and Configure. I'm going to go into the application workflow. This is the stages of my recruiting process. And you'll see that when a candidate successfully applies, an email is triggered thanking them to apply. Well, now what you can do with premium texting is not only can you trigger an email, but you can also trigger a text. So it's an automated feature. Again, that's one of the differences between basic and premium texting. The second difference is premium texting allows a text to apply feature. So you can share information with, you can be proactive about recruiting. I don't know if you've ever been to a retail store. There's a poster board outside. It says, hey, we need cashiers or we need customer service reps. Text this number and the code word is cashier. So we now offer that ability as well. I was talking with a customer the other day, and he's going to suggest to his recruiter to advertise jobs on her Facebook page, include the texting number, include the account, or excuse me, the job code, in order to get information about their hiring needs out. So if I go to the Jobs tab here, I go to my Accounting Manager opportunity and move from the Summary tab to the Launch tab. You'll notice the Text to Apply option is now here. This is my ApplicantStack account texting number, and the code word is accountant. So any of you on this call can actually call this number, or text the number, I guess I should say. Input the code word accountant in the subject, and you too can begin the application process for this accounting manager opportunity. So again, boy, this is a long-winded response to your question. I hope I answered it. Basic texting is $35 a month, and premium texting is $95 a month per account. And again, premium texting will get you automated texts on stage changes and text to apply. Did I miss anything, Carol, Brandon?
I think you covered it all. Thank you, Ellen. We've got 2 questions. I'm going to start you off. I'm going to skip one and go to the second one. It's a recruit question. And then we'll be sure to circle back and go to the onboard question. Question is, how do we create a job ID to track the source where the candidate saw the job post? And I think that may be a question. There's a job ID and then there's a source. So, yep, if you could just show that again, that would be great.
Okay. So I'm moving over to the Jobs tab, and my Jobs table comes up. So to answer your question, the job ID, ApplicantStack will populate that for you when you create a job, or if you've got a specific naming device that you want your IDs to use, you have the ability to override the job ID that ApplicantStack populates. So for example, I'm over here in the gray menu on the right, Create Job. If I click there, we can start from a template or a blank form. You'll notice that job 237 was populated for me because that's the next one in my queue. I have the ability to use 237, or I could use some sort of naming scheme, and it could be maybe operations, 2022, and I'm just making things up, but you can see how you could create your own job IDs. So we have customers that have a mix and match of numbers and letters in their job IDs. Obviously, it means something to them, tracks departments, operations, charge codes, something along those lines. So I think I answered the job ID question. The other question was, how do you track source so you know where your candidates are seeing your job listings? If I go to, again, my picture in the upper right-hand corner, and then click on Setup, and again, an administrator of your account needs to do this. and I move to the blue menu on the left, click Configure. Source is an application field that should probably already be in your account because it's data that's in your account when the account is created, but it is an application field, and you'll see the name, in this case, is source. So what you want to do is, if you want to look at your options, you have the ability to do so. So here are all the sources where you've launched your jobs or where you think candidates would see your jobs. And if you want to add options, you have the ability to add options through clicking on that Add Options. And any additional options, source options you want, you can add in here. So once you do that, you then have the ability to track where your candidates are coming from in a variety of ways. But if I go back to the candidates table and expand filters, one of the ways I can do that is to track my source here. So if I specify Indeed, I'd see the individuals that saw my job listing on Indeed. And you can, obviously choose whichever jobs you want or whatever sources, I guess I should say, you want. You can use your other filters too to mix and match your criteria. Carol, do you think I answered that question?
I believe so. I'm going to send you over to onboard with the next question.
Okay.
I'll go on over. Okay, when a candidate says they never received the email, what is the easiest way to resend a paperwork started stage to a candidate? This is an onboarding.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to move from my Home tab to my Hires tab. You can see a variety of hires here. And you obviously need to alert your new hire that their onboarding portal is ready for them so that they can complete the I-9 and the W-4 and forms unique to your organization. So you have the ability to either trigger what we call that welcome email, or you can automate the sending of that email. But regardless, if they didn't get the email, then you can send it again. Let me just move to the library for a minute, and I'm going to click on Messages. This is an example of that welcome email. Sounds like you know what the welcome email is all about. But just to share a little bit, it's very important that you that you let your new hire, again, know that their onboarding portal is ready for them to start completing those documents. So you need to share with them what their username is, what their password is in order to access the portal, and the link to their portal. So the best way, if your individual or your new hire hasn't received that welcome email, is you can send it a second time. And if you've already populated their onboarding portal, I would suggest sending it manually, because you don't want to trigger a checklist or you don't want to trigger forms to add to their onboarding portal. So I would come over here to Email Hire. I'm on the gray menu on the right. And you can then choose that message template being welcome to the hiring process that we just saw in the library and send it off. Any other ideas on that, Carol or Brandon?
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is it could be going to the spam folder. So maybe ask your candidate or hire to check their spam folder.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Also, they may need to whitelist ApplicantStack so it doesn't, potentially it's being blocked, perhaps. So that might be another thing to look into. So I would maybe ask them to check their spam folder. Are they truly not getting it? Try Ellen's suggestion, and all else fails, maybe try whitelisting ApplicantStack.
Right, perfect.
Yeah, thanks, Carol. I would also add that we don't have this problem with texting. So
right. Exactly.
No, but it's just a different medium. It just, everybody looks at their text. It's just the way our culture is now. So we don't run into those same kind of problems.
do we have?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the questions. I think we've answered everything so far. We did get a thank you for the last question that we had.
Excellent. All right, I'm looking at the questions panel as well. Why don't we give it a few more minutes? And again, I'd just like to say, check out your announcements panel and certainly register for those Ask Me Anything hour with ApplicantStack topics that you think might be of interest to you or you could benefit from. And of course, our onboard webinar. And you don't have to have onboarding in order to register for the onboard webinar, just so that you know that. Again, onboarding allows your new hires to complete new hire paperwork in their living room prior to their first day of employment, as opposed to spending 2 hours or 3 hours in your conference room the first day. It also allows them to be able to access things like social security number and tax information from their home, as opposed to saying in the office, oh my gosh, well, I don't have this information, I'll have to get back to you on it. And ApplicantStack Recruit and onboarding are integrated. So that's very nice that a candidate that's hired in ApplicantStack Recruit transitions to ApplicantStack onboarding.
Okay. Thank you, Ellen. I don't see any more questions coming through.
Okay. Carol or Brandon, did I miss anything in regard to upcoming opportunities, webinars? Ask Me Anything?
I think you have it covered. We've got another one on the 17th, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm. And that's on modifying your job board.
I have a question about the new hire portal login. So when sometimes candidates have trouble with their passwords and the email, how do we go about resetting the password?
Resetting the password to get to the new hire so that they can access their onboarding portal?
Yes, the candidate's onboarding portal.
So I think there's a couple different ways you can do that. One of which would be to send the welcome email again, because that will send a new password and their access.
The password when you send the email again?
What was that, Brandon?
I said, just to confirm, it regenerates the password. It's going to create a new one when you resend that email. Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is, and this I'm going to talk through as I look. All right. Yes. So I'm in a candidate record, actually my record. And if I go to edit from the gray menu on the right, you'll see information that's already been populated in here, information that I can add, because look at all these hired fields I configured, circling back to our featured function today. But you also have the ability to set a portal password here, Brandon.
Okay.
Oh, I kind of got rid of that a little too quick. But there you go.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we had a couple more questions come in, Ellen. While we're in, you went back to recruit. What was the difference between basic and premium texting? Again, please.
Okay. So I will be glad to talk through that. But if you forget, or if you need a refresher when we hang up, I'm going to go to the white question mark in the upper right-hand corner, and then from the drop-down Help Center. And there is a great article on premium texting here, how you can upgrade, and then what the features of premium texting are. So I'm kind of going backwards into that question. Premium texting includes text to apply, and it includes triggering texts when you move your candidates or new hires through the stages of your recruit flow or your onboarding flow. So those two features that I've highlighted on my screen are what differentiates premium texting from basic texting. So premium texting is $95 a month. It incorporates everything, every function that basic texting offers, but also includes, once again, text to apply and triggering texts in your workflow. Basic texting is just that. It allows you to communicate with your candidates and hires manually. And I'm going to say manually because basic texting does not include the ability to automate your text at a stage change. So I'm actually in onboarding right now. If I click on my name and I choose, oh, this doesn't have, that doesn't have a valid texting phone number. So there's a little check and balance here. Let's go down here. If I go to my onboarding portal and I have the option to text a hire here, and this is the same in Recruit, you can text a candidate. This is what basic texting will allow. So you would input your text message saying, hey, we look forward to seeing you at orientation on Monday morning at 8 a.m., something along those lines. Now, with basic texting, you do have the ability to mass text hires and candidates. So just to go back to Recruit, and I'm going to move to my Candidates tab. Let me open up those filters. And now I have the ability to text as many people as I want to. And if all of these individuals were starting with us for orientation on Monday, I could text them all in mass at the same time and say, hey, we're looking forward to seeing all of you. So I hope I have differentiated between the two. Once again, basic texting is $35 a month for unlimited texting per account, and premium texting is $95 a month. If you choose to activate either one, an account administrator would need to do so, and can do so from your ApplicantStack homepage and click on Manage Billing from the gray menu on the right. I'm in demo mode here because this is my demo account, but in a customer account, you'd have an option here to add basic texting or add premium texting.
Awesome, Ellen. Thank you so much for that. I would add for Homestead listeners and Homestead users, you are not able to activate texting on your own. Please contact me through a support ticket using the orange orange icon in the top right corner of ApplicantStack. You can submit a ticket there and I can activate it for you. I would also like to add an additional plug on top of Ellen's excellent explanation about premium texting, but do not underestimate the power of those automations. With the automations, you can actually do some really robust nurturing to encourage the candidate to go to the next step. Everybody knows in recruiting, it's like a funnel. You lose candidates at each step of the way. But if you can nurture them, meaning you send them a text when they first complete their application, and then that text encourages them to, say, fill out a questionnaire or to call the office. And if they don't, then the next day it sends another text. And then the third day it sends another text. So all of that can be established inside your workflow, but those nurturing texts would change or stop once that candidate moves to the next stage. So they're not going to be harassed to complete an application when they're already in the interview stage, for example.
Yep, excellent addition, Brandon. Thank you.
Okay, Ellen, we have 2 more questions. I'm going to send you back into the onboard side if you're not already.
All righty. Let me just flip on over there.
One of them I think is a workflow question. My onboarding has stopped automatically sending the email to start, so now I have to add it manually. How do I make it automatic again?
Okay. All right. That is definitely an onboarding workflow question. And any ApplicantStack administrator can trigger an email in onboarding. I'm going to click on my picture up top, click on Setup, because again, we're setting up and configuring the account. So I'm going to click on Configure from the blue menu on the left. And this time, as opposed to my Recruit workflow in ApplicantStack Recruit, I'm going to click on Hire Workflow because we're in onboarding. And I need to edit my Hire workflow. So what you can see here is this particular email is being triggered when a candidate moves from ApplicantStack Recruit to ApplicantStack Onboarding and falls in the new stage. So this is that welcome email that specifies their username and their password and the link to get to their onboarding portal. It also triggers a checklist, and the checklist is the bundling of onboarding tasks. So once again, the completion of the I-9, the state tax form, maybe an employee handbook signature and date. Again, you can trigger a checklist, and that is what this workflow is showing you when a candidate falls into the new stage. So somewhere along the line, your email has not been triggered. What you would need to do is edit the workflow stage. And let me just come down here. We're just going to pretend orientation. So we're going to edit the workflow stage for orientation by clicking on Edit Workflow Stage. And this is kind of the smarts, call it the smarts behind your workflow. And what you want to do is trigger a message template. And depending upon what you want to share with your customer, it sounds like maybe it is something similar to welcome to the hiring process. You can then choose that email. And once you choose the email and submit it, it will then be triggered when a candidate moves to that stage. All right, Carol, you think I answered that one?
Sure did.
Okay.
Okay, we do have one more. I'm scratching my head a little bit on it. Is it possible to add more than one manager in onboarding? Some forms or questionnaires may require more than one admin signature, and I'm wondering how to put those in admin tasks for each admin person.
Okay.
Forms and questionnaires, you can have hire only, employer then hire, or hire then employer. So I'm not sure how that would work, but would it be possible maybe to do it?
I think the answer to that is no. I don't think you're able to do that.
Yeah, I believe the system limits you to one manager to be designated. As for multiple signatures, I think you might be limited to one from the employer side.
I'm looking at the question too, Carol and Brandon, and I agree with you. I think you can only designate one hiring manager in onboarding. And then, of course, as you stated, Carol, an onboarding form can be designated to be completed by the hire and then the employer, or the employer and then the hire. So in that case, there could be a signature from both sides. But again, it's only, gosh, it's only one signature allowed. I'm kind of thinking and talking at the same time. I think we're saying the same thing, are we not?
I think so, yeah. I think we're all in agreement.
I wonder if, I don't know, I'm speculating now, so I don't know if that adds to confusion or helps, but if you had two signature fields that were both assigned to the employer, could different users log in and sign those?
I don't, you know what? Let's do a little testing, and Pamela, we'll get back to you on that. Because obviously yours is a good question. We'll put our heads together, and we'll be back in touch with you on that one. I see your acknowledgement. Okay, great, thanks. All right, we will be back in touch.
Okay, we do have a couple more questions on the onboard side. Once you delete a candidate's paperwork from the onboarding side, you can't get it back. Is that correct?
Okay, so if you delete a candidate's paperwork, and I'm going to, inadvertently. No, you as an ApplicantStack user cannot get that back. What I would suggest doing is resending that form to your new hire, and you would do so by going into your new hires record, and you can obviously send a form individually. So if you're triggering a checklist, and for example, you don't want to trigger a checklist a second time, you can add the form by clicking on the gray menu on the right, specifying which form you want the new hire to complete again, and submitting it. And it would then be added to their portal. You would need to communicate with the new hire that you have added that document to their portal again and ask them to complete it again.
Okay, follow-up question related. Is there a way to archive the paperwork to access it in the future?
To archive new hire paperwork?
Yeah, so I'm thinking a stage, put them into a stage, or you could an archive stage or export that information out of the system.
Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, those are the options that I'm thinking. As far as archiving, maybe put them into a stage, archive record, something of that sort.
Well, and by nature, the onboarding portal is meant to work with, it's meant to act as an archive automatically. So once they're hired, you don't really need to move them anywhere. Is that?
Yeah, the system will retain that information for you. So it will be there for you to reference in the future. But if you want to get them off of your main view for just to keep your, as Ellen said, account neat and tidy, you could put them into maybe an archive stage.
Right. The other thing that I've just done is viewed this new hire's completed paperwork, and I don't know if I'm really adding to this or not, but you do have the ability to save this paperwork. You do have the ability to print it. You could print it as a PDF if you wanted to, or save it as a PDF, I should say. So once again, I think you've got a couple options as to how you might want to handle that information. But again, ApplicantStack can house your onboarding information for as long as you want us to as well. Do you think that did that justice, that question, Carol?
I think so.
All right.
Okay, I'm just looking through the questions again. Okay, I think we have answered everything that has come through.
All right. Well, then I think that wraps up this session of Ask Me Anything Hour with ApplicantStack. And as always, we certainly appreciate you joining us. We hope you all find these sessions beneficial. And we look forward to seeing you all at the next Ask Me Anything Hour. And don't forget that onboard webinar scheduled for December 12th. So thanks again and enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you, Ellen.
All right. Bye-bye.